Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Pixelated Pedagogy episode. And today we're going to dive into D2L Brightspace's new generative AI features, and it's called D2L Lumi. We're definitely excited to share this functionality with you all. So Jordan and Shannon, I'll pass it off to you.
Awesome. I think maybe a good place to start is just sort of asking Shannon, I know you're working with faculty who are using it. Travis, you might be advising folks on it too, but how are we using Lumi so far? We've had it for kind of a couple months on a trial period, but now it's kind of live and our faculty have it. What are we hearing?
Yeah, I've been using it quite a bit, actually. I'm working with a faculty member right now on a redesign of a composition course. And so one of the really nice things about it is that we've been able to use it to build very specific quiz questions based on the content this instructor is using in the course. So she uses open educational resources and she puts lecture videos into the course and things like that. And we can build the quiz questions right from that content, which is really nice, rather than just having maybe something from a textbook publisher that, maybe the students aren't even reading all of the chapters that are provided in the quiz banks. So that's been a really useful tool for us.
You mentioned OER, which is kind of going to be one of the focuses of our session. One thing I want to kind of piggyback on is we lost it for a day just due to a technical issue. It's back within our instance of Brightspace, but someone reached out and said, where was it? Because it was the speed of the question building process beyond just the AI ability, is that it as soon as people started using it, it was just where'd it go? Because it's so fast, I can correct the questions anyway. Whether it's good question or bad question that Lumi generated in this instance, I got a question, or I've got 5 questions or 10 questions. So it's definitely helping with our course builds in some interesting ways. Shannon, can you elaborate on how OER is working? What does that look like? What does that work? Why is OER good with Lumi?
Yeah, well, so that particular course is a good example. We've been using some reading assignments from an OER text from OpenStax and one from LibreText. And rather than have students go out to those separate links to read and then come back into the course, I've been copying and pasting content from the readings directly into web pages in Brightspace. And so that there's a couple of benefits to that outside of Lumi, being that students can read it directly in the course. They don't have to go out to another link. They don't get confused because there are multiple texts that the instructor's pulling from, but also then those web pages can be read by Lumi to build the quiz questions, also assignment prompts, discussion prompts, and some practice questions. So it's been really helpful because we don't have to worry about copyright issues. We know we can remix and reuse that content freely as long as we provide the attribution at the bottom. So, we have no concerns there. And Lumi does not save data. So every time we use it, and we'll get into that in a minute, but every time we use it, we choose the content we wanted to pull from for that particular moment in time, and then it does not save it. So we don't have to worry about privacy concerns or sharing data or anything like that.
When I had the opportunity here to switch to OER, I was so enthusiastic to do it because for no other reason than I knew my students would have an easier time getting the book, less hassle at the beginning of the semester, less issues with retention right away. But it seems to be paying dividends now because you can put OER texts into your course, and we'll show this off, and have Lumi review those specific portions, and maybe you blueprinted your course, and so it's only looking at the hyper-relevant section of text to do some of this question generation or assignment idea generation or discussion idea generation. And I'm sure Lumi will continue to evolve and have other iterations too. So all of a sudden, it's very useful to have an OER. One thing I want to talk about too before we forget is just the ways in which it's sometimes hard to get. Not only do you have to pay for publisher-provided content, some of the instructor resources, PowerPoints, things like that, can be difficult to get electronically. You have to remember your login to the specific publisher website. Who knows if it's been updated? Who knows if those files are accessible? In addition, some of that content it's already out on the web. So if you use Lumi to remix content, or even remix your content, incorporate publisher content, whatever you're doing, you're creating something new. So the idea that a textbook provider or publisher, where students are paying $160 for a book and you get a preset course or set of questions, I think Lumi is more secure. I think it's more integrous. I think it's a better course in a lot of instances. You have a lot more options using artificial intelligence in your courses. I think that'll be counterintuitive for a lot of faculty to wrestle with. The idea being a publisher who knows what they're doing with the text is worse than what I could do with something someone else wrote and an artificial intelligence system. But maybe we can kind of get into it and show it off.
Yeah, just one quick thing. You mentioned things being up to date. And I think that's an important point. We don't necessarily need a new edition of a textbook and a whole new quiz bank, right? We can take things like, for example, this composition course, when APA style guide gets updated, we can just take out that piece, that one reading, and replace it, and then replace maybe those 3 to 5 quiz questions that are based on APA citation style or one activity. And so we don't have to go back and redesign anything. Really, we're just taking out one piece at a time as it needs to be updated. So that really makes it efficient. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to share your screen, Shannon? Can you kind of show off Lumi a little bit?
Yeah. So I've got a sandbox pulled up here. And so the way that Lumi works is you will be able to choose content from the course to use to build activities. And so I put some content in this particular module to use for today. So you can see we're kind of all over the place on subjects here, but Lumi can use almost any content type. It does not read at this time PDF files, although I think that's probably coming, but it can read Word documents, PowerPoint files, web pages built in Brightspace, and even videos that you upload from the media library. So there are a lot of options here. So I'll just go through the first, probably the easiest way to use it is to create a new assignment, and a new discussion works the same way. You do need to be in the content when you do this in order to see the Lumi option here show up. So if you go through more tools and click on a new assignment, it will not appear. And that's because it needs to start from content, because it is building from the content you've put in the course.
And if real quick, if you have an existing assignment in the content, you should be able to see it there, right?
Right. Yes. So if we click on the Lumi icon there, you can see there's some tips here and some information. You have 8,000 characters worth of content. If you want to select content from the course here, I don't think you can add in your own content. That's only in the quiz question section, which we'll get to. But you can choose a Bloom's level. So we'll start, let's go with understand. And you can choose how many ideas you want it to generate. And then you can say, I want to use all the activities, all of the content in this module, or I want to select a specific thing. So I'll select specifically maybe this OER page on nursing.
And the video option is so interesting there, and it's using the transcript that's generated in that media library. So you can easily record and just capture some videos and use that as a source too. You could record a quick lecture and have AI within Brightspace generate a formative practice quiz like that. And the speed on this has always been, and a lot of the feedback we gave when we sort of beta tested this sort of early on was, it's just fast enough to keep me engaged. It takes time as we're sort of sitting here watching it kind of spin, but it's in the modern age, 2024, 2025, it's fast enough to keep up with us, I think.
Yeah, and the page that I gave it had a pretty decent amount of content on it. So I think it's going to be based on the amount of text or video transcript or whatever you're giving it. So you can see I have 3 options here that I can review and decide whether I want to use. So let's say I'm going to go with the second one. Click insert. You'll see that it's going to show that it was an AI generated assignment, but that only shows on the instructor side. The students will not see that. And then we just save and close when we have an assignment built.
And there's always that human in the loop. It forces you to say yes to that question. It gives you the opportunity to edit right then and there. You could obviously edit later too. And I think it'll always carry that AI generated tag with it.
And then it shows in the content just like any other assignment.
Awesome. Very cool. And oh, go ahead, Shannon.
No, I was just going to say discussion prompts work exactly the same way. So I don't know that we need to show that. But same exact.
Yeah, let's not. Same thing though. So yeah, and we can hopefully expect it to kind of continue to grow. Do you want to go to transition to quizzes? I think this is where it's really neat and kind of really can speed things up.
Yep. So we'll need to go to the quiz tool for this one and then click on the question library. You can see I already have some AI generated quiz questions here, and they have that little icon to designate that. And again, that's not something the students will see. So we'll click generate questions. Now in this particular activity, you can choose to give it text right here, or you can choose content from the course. So let's say I wanted to use OER text from OpenStax. I really want a question built on one specific paragraph or one section. I could copy and paste that in here to make sure that I get questions based on this particular thing.
Can we show the question types real quick? And again, this might, who knows, this might expand in the future too. And the way the recording is, it doesn't show us when you select, but it does show us when you click on something. So we can see multiple choice right now.
Oh, okay. So you've got multiple choice, true, false, written response, short answer, and multi-select. Those are
Very
currently the options. And then we can choose our number of questions from 1 to 10. And again, we can select a Bloom's level.
That Bloom's thing is so neat in the way that we do at the college, where each course has this primary Bloom's verb, but you can kind of play with it. I would say anyone who's sort of playing with these tools, try the different levels, right? And I'm sure you're mixing them up. No one's just at a level 2 or level 3 across a whole course guide. But the difference between apply and understand, you'll get some interesting question types. And especially if you're building a quiz, why not mix a couple of understand and apply questions, depending on where your students are at or what you're working on.
I'm going to choose the Lumi module, and I'm going to choose questions based on this PowerPoint presentation. And then I've chosen analyze as my Bloom's level, 3 questions, multiple choice. And then let's see if it generates.
And can you explain the difference again between with discussion assignments and quizzes? Did quizzes currently force you to choose one page or item, or could you choose multiple?
It forces you to choose one piece of content, which is different from assignments, right? Assignments and discussions will let you choose everything that's in the module, but quiz questions will only work from one thing at a time.
I think that makes a ton of sense, because this is narrow, right? Like, and when I was doing it, I was labeling things with the course objectives, like from our course guide, like that specific numbering, and giving 3 questions on each thing. So it is a narrow thing you're trying to do when you're using the question generator.
And I think that's why they have the option to copy and paste text directly in too, right, because you can get really specific, which is good. Okay, so you can see here we have 3 questions. They are all labeled as pending review. It forces you to go through and review the questions before you accept them, which I also think is a good thing. So we'll click pending review here. Looking at the question. Say we like it, we'll say keep and go to the next one.
And then anything you need to sort of edit, right? Anecdotally,
you can edit the question. You can change anything you want to here. And then you can rate the question, which helps D2L kind of make this better. And so I would suggest that you do that. And then let's say we don't like this last one, and we'll click discard. So we've got 2, one we edited, this one was reviewed and okay, and then we'll just save them.
Anecdotally, I had some nursing faculty tell me that it was getting questions wrong, but it was very easy to make those corrections, right? That some of the questions they got wrong, they were just easily able to fix. One neat benefit of cranking these out is the ability, and I know a lot of folks don't use the question library, but if you go build a quiz using question pools, you can quickly build hundreds and hundreds of questions and build some really, really secure assessments, where no 2 students will get even a very similar number of questions the exact same. Like, you can really build hundreds and hundreds of questions with this tool pretty quickly.
Yeah,
if your course is prepared, if you've got the content in the course.
Right, and question pools are better for academic integrity, and they just give students, especially if you're letting them use these as formative practice, and maybe they can try it multiple times and get different questions every time, then they can get more practice that way.
Very cool. And there's I think we're a little short on time, but you can do some of this with the Creator Plus pages, right?
Right. So you can use the AI tool, and it's very similar to the question library situation, where you will create a file in the course, and then you'll just go to Creator Plus, which is here, insert practice. And from here, you can see which question types allow AI generation. And then from this point on, it's very similar to what you see in the question library, where you choose the question type, and then it will generate something. You choose the content you want it to use. You can also copy and paste directly into this one, and then it will build practice questions, which you can then review and choose to accept or discard.
I really need to build a lot of this in my own courses. I have my own lectures that I've sort of used in my own courses, but that was pre-AI. I'm sort of curious about the ways in which I can just build more and more volume, more and more details, more and more assignments, more and more resources for students, maybe hyper specific to a specific objective or specific thing we're working on. I can just have more content practice available for students now with these tools, be more responsive to personalized education for our learners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what's on the horizon, Travis, with Lumi? What do you know?
Yeah, there's some great things on the horizon for Lumi on the roadmap. So first, one thing that's coming very soon is the ability for the AI to suggest outcome alignment for the activities in your course. That'll be really neat. And then a couple of things from the student perspective that can be really helpful for them and that is getting summaries on content modules to be able to see things just at a glance and kind of get a recap. And then on the instructor side, actually generating content, HTML files in your course based on file uploads and videos and things. So kind of bringing all of this full circle. So we look forward to demonstrating those and diving into those in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. Any parting thoughts by either of you?
It's going to get weird, but humans are in control, right? And if we're focused on our students and what we're doing and how we're assessing their learning, I think we have a new set of tools that could be really powerful in terms of instruction.
Yeah, and I just think adopting these frees up so much of the instructor's time to, design things for their courses and provide feedback and do all of the things that are
work directly with those human students, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so so let the machine do some of this work for you, and you can better utilize your time.
Right.
Absolutely. So we'll be back next week with another episode, and during that episode, we're going to dive into a recent article titled "Is This the End of Reading?" So definitely
end of reading.
Appreciate y'all. See ya.
Bye.